नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोकी भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 10, entitled The Past Tense of Lord Ramachandra, Text 23. एवं क्षिपन् धनुषि संधिताम् उत सराजा भानं सा वज्रम इव तत् दृढ़धयां बिभेदा सा शृंगवामान् दशमुक्तै न्यात्पाद विमानात् दाहेति जलपति जनि सुकृत्वा रिक्तः. This is a long sloka. I just read 3 times myself. Evam kshipan dhanushi sandhitam usraja utsasaraja banam sa vajram ivatat drudadayam bibeda so srunga vaman dashamukhair न्यात्पदात् विमानात् दहेति जलपति जनि सुकृत्वा रिक्तः. Translation and purport by Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. After thus rebuking Ravana, Lord Ramachandra fixed an arrow to his bow, aimed at Ravana, and released the arrow, which pierced Ravana's heart like a thunderbolt. Upon seeing this, Ravana's followers raised a tumultuous sound, crying, "Alas, alas! What has happened? What has happened?" As Ravana, vomiting blood from his 10 mouths, fell from his aeroplane, just as a pious man falls to the earth from the heavenly planet when the result of his pious activities are exhausted. Please repeat after me responsibly. After thus rebuking Ravana, Lord Ramachandra fixed an arrow to his bow, aimed at Ravana, and released the arrow which pierced the Ravana's heart like a thunderbolt. Upon seeing this, Ravana's followers raised a tumultuous sound, crying, "Alas, alas! What has happened? What has happened?" As Ravana, vomiting blood from his 10 mouths, fell from his aeroplane, just as a pious man falls to earth from the heavenly planets when the result of his pious activities are exhausted. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text 21, it is said, "Kshine punye martalokam vishanti." When the result of their past activities are exhausted, those who have enjoyed the heavenly planets fall again to earth. The fruitive activities of the material world are such that whether one acts piously or impiously, one must remain within this material world according to different conditions. For neither pious nor impious action can relieve one from Maya's clutches of repetition of birth and death. Somehow or other, Ravana was raised to exalted position as a king of a great kingdom with all material opulences. But because of his sinful act, kidnapping the mother Sita, all the result of his pious activities were destroyed. If one offends an exalted personality, especially the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one certainly becomes most abominable, bereft of the result of pious activities. One must fall down like Ravana and other demons. It is therefore advised that one transit the both pious and impious activities, remain in the pure state of freedom from all designation, sarvopadi vinirmuktam. When one is fixed in devotional service, he is above the material platform. On the material platform, there are higher and lower positions. But when one is above the material platform, he is always fixed in spiritual position. Sagunan sammatityatam brahma bhuya kalpati. Ravana or those like him may be very powerful and opulent in this material world. But there is not a secure position, because after all they are bound by the result of their karma. We should not forget that we are completely dependent on the laws of nature. Prakrute kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha ahankara vimudatma kartahamiti manyatehi. The bewildered spiritual soul, under the influence of three modes of material nature, think himself the doer of the activities that are in actuality carried out by nature. One should not be proud of one's exalted position, act like a Ravana, thinking oneself independent of material nature's law. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah. Sri Chaitanya Manovishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Supadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sravadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitam Sa. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusate Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpataruvesya Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. There are 3-4 points Prabhupada explaining in the purport and referring Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text 21. That is one point Prabhupada discussed. In that purport, or the sloka, Prabhupada further says that fruitive activities of the material world are such that whether one acts piously or impiously, one must remain within a material world according to different conditions. For neither pious nor impious action can relieve one from Maya's clutches of repetition, birth and death. So this is the main purpose of taking Krishna consciousness, to become free from this samsara, cycle of birth and death. That is in the Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, text 2, explaining that dharma projita kaitavotra paramo nirmatsaranam satam vedyam vastavam sapatre mulanam. It's a very nice sloka. There it is explaining that completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated, this Bhagavata Purana propound the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproot the threefold miseries. The beautiful Bhagavatam compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in its maturity, sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scriptures as soon as one attentively, submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam? By this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. So this is explaining dharma projita kaitavotra. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that the fruitive activities of the material world are such that whether one acts piously or impiously, one must remain within a material world. This is the first understanding. According to different conditions. For neither pious nor impious action can relieve one from the Maya's clutches of repetition of birth and death. So this is very, very nicely explained in the Bhagavad Gita also. Janma mrityu jara vyadi dukkha doshanudarshanam. We are to understand human life is meant for tapasya, not for sense enjoyment. Like Rishabhadev says, no nayam deva deho bhajanulaki kashtanu kaman arati vidbhujant. Rishabhadev is teaching to his sons, 100 sons, this human life not meant for sense gratification. The sense gratification is there even in the ox and dog's life. Nayam deha deho bhajanulaki kashtanu kaman arati vidbhujan. Tapo divyam. So human life is meant for tapasya. That is very, very important. By performing tapasya, then, we can achieve that status of life, become free from the birth and death. this is nicely described about birth and death. We should all understand. Just like in the material world, people also get sick. They go to hospital. They try to cure the disease. Similarly, in spiritual life also, we are all patients. Especially like brahmacharis, staying in ashram, we are patients. Then, how to become cure from this, disease condition, janma mrityu jara vyadi. So that is nicely described. Prabhupada writes in the purport very nicely. Chapter 13. One should try to understand the distress of accepting birth, death, old age and disease. What Prabhupada says, one should try to understand the distress. What is the distress? Birth, death, old age and disease. There are descriptions in various Vedic literatures of birth. Prabhupada writing that there are descriptions how the living entity enter into the body or get the material body. Nicely described in this, Prabhupada says, in the Bhagavatam, the world of the unborn, the child stay in the womb of mother, suffering, etc., very graphically described. It should be thoroughly understood that birth is distressful. Especially we brahmacharis, we to learn. Birth is distressful. The karmis are, they do so much celebration about birth activities of birth. But birth is distressful, Prabhupada explaining here. It should be thoroughly understood that birth is distressful because we forget how much distress we have suffered within the womb of mother. What he says, Prabhupada? We don't know how much we suffered in the womb of mother. We forget. We do not make any solution to the repetition of birth and death. Similarly, at the time of death, there are all kinds of suffering. They are also mentioned in the authoritative scriptures. These should be discussed. Prabhupada is telling that this should be discussed. How to become free from this birth, death, old age and disease. Right? In the hospital, there are so many patients are there. They discuss what is their disease, how to cure. So brahmacharis, they should only think about this, how to become free from this suffering. Prabhupada said this material body is a punishment of the living entity. Right? We have to learn this all. This is a science. We are staying in the ashram in only this. Not try to enjoy life. That is not brahmachari life. Brahmachari is very austere life. One must be austere. To become free from this birth, death, old age, disease. Right? We have to realize, I am suffering. Unavoidable. Right? Kulashekar Alvar, he says to the Lord in his prayer, I did not remember you at the time of death. That is I have entered into the womb of mother. Naraka. Enter into the womb of mother means is like a hell. Garbha vasadi dukkham. This is a fact. It's a great science. So here Prabhupada explaining that similarly at the time of death there are all kinds of suffering. They are also mentioned in the authoritative scripture. These should be discussed. As far as the disease and old age are concerned, everyone gets practical experience. No one wants to be diseased. No one wants to become old. But there is no avoiding this. Unless we have a pessimistic view of this material life, considering the distress of birth, death, old age and disease, there is no impetus for our making advancement in spiritual life. So Prabhupada making very clear. That is why this book is very, very important. Everybody can read it. Bolo, padho. Kya hai? Kaun sa kitab hai? This is very, very important book for brahmacharis, for everybody. Grahastha, Vanaprastha, everybody, this book is very, very important. I would like to read a little bit what Prabhupada says about this book. Okay? The Krishna consciousness movement is conducted under the supervision of Srila Rupa Goswami. The Gaudiya Vaishnavas or Bengali Vaishnavas are mostly followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of whom the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavana are the direct disciples. So further he writes in the purport that to understand the mission of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, follow in footsteps, one must very seriously follow in the footsteps of 6 Goswamis. Srila Rupa, Sanatana, Bhatta Raghunath, Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta, Dasa Raghunath. Sri Rupa Goswami was the leader of the Goswamis. To guide our activities, he gave us Upadesha Amrita. So this book is very, very important. The nectar of instruction to follow. As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left behind him 8 verses known as Siksastaka, Rupa Goswami gave us Upadesha Amrita so that we may become pure Vaishnava. We want to become pure Vaishnava, then you have to follow this instruction, nectar of instruction. In all spiritual affairs, one's first duty is to control his mind and senses. Prabhupada writing. What is that? In all spiritual affairs, one's first duty is to control the mind and senses. Can anybody give answer why? Raise your hand if you want to give answer. I'm asking. Okay? Here Prabhupada says, in all spiritual affairs, one's first duty is to control the mind and senses. Okay? I'm asking, why? If you know, raise your hand. How many are raising? 1, 2, 3. No? Why? You know why? Say, yes. I'm asking. Prabhupada says in all spiritual affairs, what one has to control the mind and senses. I am asking why. Question to you.
Finally, like we identify ourselves with a body, and so the soul is directly connected to body through mind, and this false ego is there. That's why by controlling mind, and for controlling mind we have to control our senses. So by this way we will be able to come to the understanding of soul and will be able to perfect our life.
You're right. So here it says that because mind is material, okay? Mind is not spiritual. Also senses, eyes, nose, ear, this is also not spiritual, material. So we have to control the matter, material senses and the material mind. That's what Prabhupada is explaining. Unless one controls his mind and senses, one cannot make any advancement in spiritual life. Okay? Here Prabhupada is telling. You cannot advance. You may talk this, that. Unless you control the mind, senses, you cannot advance. Everyone within the material world is engrossed in the modes of passion and ignorance. What Prabhupada is telling? हम सब लोग तमोगुण रजोगुण में रहते बोल रहे. In Bhagavad Gita also the Lord says, no, nobody is free from these three modes of material nature. You know that, where it is mentioned? Can anybody can tell? 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that was explained by Lord. Anybody remind me? There is no being existing either here or among the demigods in higher planetary system which is freed from these three modes born of material nature. 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, text 40. Nobody is free of this tamogun, rajogun, Kali Yuga, goodness only 5%. This is a great science. So here Prabhupada is explaining that everyone within the material world is engrossed in the modes of passion and ignorance. One must promote himself to the platform of goodness. Shemo, Dhamma, Tapas, Saucham, Shanti, Rajam, Jnana, Vijnana, Mastik, Brahma, Karma, Svabhavajam. This is the qualification. A Brahmana is self-control, Atma Nigraha, is very clean, very peaceful. That's why Prabhupada says ISKCON means Brahmanical activities. No Kshatriya, no Vaishya, no Shudra. One should become a Brahmana by qualification. By following the instruction of Rupa Goswami, then everything concerned how to make further progress will be revealed. Advancement in Krishna consciousness depends on the attitude of the follower. A follower of the Krishna conscious movement should become a perfect Goswami. Prabhupada writing. Vaishnava are generally known as Goswamis. In Vrindavan, This is the title by which the director of each temple is known. Like when I go to Vrindavan, we always talk about das Goswami, this Goswami. It's very much confuses sometimes because they are Grihasthas and they are called Goswami. It's confusing. Right? Are you all? Everybody try to understand this. Padmanabha Goswami, O Goswami, E Goswami, They are Grihasthas. How you can call Grihastha Goswami? Bolo? Confusing. Prabhupada writes very clearly. One who wants to become a perfect devotee of Krishna must become a Goswami. Go means the senses. Swami means the master. Unless one controls his senses and the mind, one cannot become a Goswami. You see in the Prabhupada life, we so much glorify now Prabhupada, but Prabhupada was born. He also brahmachari, student life. Not he joined in the Hare Krishna movement. Huh? Huh? We are jumping down. Oh, we are, we have to know our position. And Prabhupada was married. Huh? Prabhupada married. He has 5 children. Brahmachari life is not complete. Beginning. Then Prabhupada took Vanaprastha. Now in ISKCON, Prabhupada writes actually, when you become 50, 60, you have to be Vanaprastha. No attachment. Wife and children. Then after 60, you have to take sannyas. Prabhupada wanted this. When Prabhupada took sannyas, then he was given title Swami Maharaj. So what I'm trying to say that, here Prabhupada is telling that, one who wants to become a perfect devotee of Krishna must become a Goswami. In Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, simply they also said, even the Grihastha they call Swami, right? Your Tamil, Telugu, which language? Actually, he is a Maharaj, he is sannyasi, but he also tells others Samulu, Swamis. That is the Gaudiya Vaishnava has a perfect understanding of what is the meaning of Swami, what is the meaning of Das, right? You cannot say everybody, like in this world, people generally, anybody wearing this cloth or that cloth or Mahatma. Mahatma ji, aiye. Tamil. Sri Krishna Mahatma, aiye. Anybody, everybody, they say Mahatma. They don't know to whom we call Mahatma. Anyway, so this is very, very important. Not easy. So Prabhupada is telling you, unless one controls his senses and the mind, one cannot become a Goswami. Then pure devotee of the Lord. To achieve the highest success in life by becoming Goswami, then pure devotee of the Lord, one must follow the instruction known as Upadeshamrita. We have been given by Srila Rupa Goswami. Upadeshamrita constitutes the first instruction for neophyte devotees. One should follow this instruction very strictly. Like yesterday, this devotee was asking, to Hara Prabhu, that prasadam also we say, we try to enjoy the prasadam, right? You asked the question. Conditioned soul. Conditioned soul also mean, conditioned soul. Full of, conditioned soul mean one is 100% in Maya. We are all conditioned soul. No, conditioned soul inside. His body is not a conditioned soul. That is why Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Jeev Jago. So here, Prabhupada explaining that first instruction for neophyte devotee, Upadesh, one should follow these instructions very strictly, then it will be easier to make one's life successful. Hare Krishna. Prabhupada is telling. So here is, this is the main point I was trying to explain, right? Like Prabhupada explaining that the fruitive activities of the material world are such that whether one acts piously or impiously, one must remain within a material world. According to different conditions, for neither pious nor impious action can relieve one from Maya's clutches, repetition of birth and death. Somehow or rather, Ravana was raised to an exalted position as the king of the great kingdom with all material opulences. But because of his sinful act, kidnapping Mother Sita, all the result of his pious activities were destroyed. If one offends an exalted personality, especially the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one certainly becomes most abominable. Bereft of result of pious activities, one must fall down like Ravana and other demons. It is therefore advised that one transcend the both pious and impious activities, remain in the pure state of freedom from all designation. Sarvo padi vinirmuktam tatparatrena nirmalam rushikesha rushikena sevanam bhakti ruchati. Prabhupada quoting. Not easy, Prabhupada all the time in his writing, because we are identify ourselves with the body. Bombaites, they think I am Mumbai Vasi. North Indian, they say I am North Indian. Bengali thinks I am Bengali. Odisha think I am Odisha. American, they think American. European think I am European. Prabhupada said these are all only designation. Designation means the illusion. You identify yourself with the body. Even after this, we are in this moment since 40, 50 years, still we identify ourselves. I am American, I am Bengali, I am this. No. What you are learning from Prabhupada? I was trying to, yesterday I am contemplating, we should learn what Prabhupada is teaching. Prabhupada is teaching, you are not this body. Beyond birth and death. What Prabhupada says, first is, we are not these bodies. Dehi nityam avadyoyam de sarvasya bharata tasmat sarvani bhutani natvam sochitum arhasi. O descendant of Bharata, he who dwells in the body is eternal, can never be slain. Therefore, you need not grieve for any creature. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, text 30. Prabhupada writes further, the very first step in self-realization, realizing one's identity as a separate from the body. The first step of self-realization. We did not learn anything. Only when we come to ISKCON, we learn this. Nobody taught in our house, in the school, nobody taught, right? Human life meant for self-realization. Anybody taught you in your house, in your school, college? Only in Hare Krishna land, ISKCON teachings, self-realization. That is now we are preaching in so many ways, right? Discover yourself. We have a seminar here. Discover yourself. Very interesting. 7 days they do. In the West also I was observing some other temples they do. That is also not so easy, but they can develop this understanding. So Prabhupada said this, the very first step in self-realization, realizing one's identity separate from the body. I am not this body, but I am the soul. But what type of soul are you? Everybody says, no, I am the soul. We are conditioned soul. That means we identify ourselves with the body. One who identifies with the body is called conditioned soul. Everybody can say, one who identifies with the body is called conditioned soul. Then why you say I am not this body? Simply we say we are not a body. We are conditioned soul. We identify ourselves body. Then you have to go brahmachari life to grahastha to vanaprastha sannyas. Then when you realize that you are not the body, aham brahmasmi, that is Shankaracharya philosophy. Only after when you realize you are the soul, then you give up your attachment for material life. No more brahmachari, no more grahastha, no more vanap, no more sannyas. Sannyas is the last, that is the stage of self-realization, beginning of self-realization. Hamsa, Paramahamsa, that is the two kinds of souls. Mayavadi sannyasi, they also self-realization. They think aham brahmasmi. Prabhupada very much condemns about that. Simply saying that aham brahmasmi and you don't believe in Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then what kind of sannyasi are you? Anyway, so here Prabhupada explaining about that. Anyone wants to transcend the death is an essential realization for anyone who wants to transcend the death, enter into the spiritual world beyond. It is not simply matter of saying, I am not this body, but actually realizing it. When you realize you are not the body, then only you take sannyas. Right? The Mayavadis, they say, Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya. So this is the way of understanding Krishna consciousness. Okay? Little bit I would like to also read about this. We have discussed about learning tapasya, self-control. Prabhupada writes, this is a book, Bhaktivedanta Sandesh, the matchless gift. Krishna consciousness is the matchless gift. There Prabhupada writing, Shukadev Goswami says that in the material world or sinful life, we act in a way in which we are forced to commit sins and suffer as a result. This is so. If we want to stop this cycle of suffering, of victimization, we have to advance in knowledge. Knowledge is very, very important. That is why you can become old by age. You can become a fool out of ignorance. So old by knowledge, that is very, very important. Very, very important that Prabhupada explained about knowledge. This लाल कपड़ा भी किसके लिए है मालूम है? This लाल कपड़ा, when you are ज्ञानाग्धदग्ध कर्माणाम तमाहु पंडिता बुधा, when you burn all kind of ignorance, then you take up this color. Fire of knowledge. You burn everything, all material activities. So here Prabhupada is explaining that ordinary people or karmis are few to actors who work all day night to get some enjoyable result, then again suffer. Thus the problems of such karmis are never solved. It is suggested therefore that one elevate himself to the platform of knowledge as prescribed by Srimad Bhagavatam. The first necessity is tapasya, accepted the austerity. So tapasya is very, very important. Some tapasya is certainly required. Without it, one cannot advance in spiritual life. Or knowledge. If we simply engage in the animal propensities, eating, sleeping, mating, defending, not accepting tapasya process, human life is failure. So brahmachari life means tapasya. Right? Somehow or other, come to the Hare Krishna land, in whatever way you come, then now you have to only think about this. How I can become free from this uncontrolled mind, uncontrolled senses by engaging Krishna's activities. 2 minutes, same nectar of instruction. I would like to emphasize about this. Vacho Vegam. Manasa Krodho Vegam. Jivva Vegam. Udara Upasta Vegam. A sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demand, action of anger, urges of the tongue, belly and genital, is qualified to make disciples all over the world. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, first one must control his speaking power. Every one of us has the power to speech. As soon as we get an opportunity, we begin to speak. If we do not speak about Krishna consciousness, we speak about all sort of nonsense. Same thing. If we don't hear about Krishna consciousness, then we have to hear all kind of nonsense. Non-Krishna conscious sound. So brahmachari means these two things are very, very important. Hearing and chanting. Or hearing and chant Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. We have to cultivate this knowledge. Brahmachari has no other business. Right? Except this only. Hare Namanu Kirtanam. In other words, engage in the service of the Lord. So here Prabhupada is explaining, a toad in a field speaks by croaking. Similarly, everyone who has tongue wants to speak, even if all he has to say is nonsense. The croaking of the toad, however, simply invites the snake, please come and eat me. Nevertheless, although it is inviting death, the toad goes on croaking. The talking of a materialistic men, impersonalist Mayavadi philosophers may be compared to the croaking frog. They are always speaking nonsense. Prabhupada telling. Thus inviting death to catch them. Controlling speech, however, does not mean self-imposed silence. This is also very important. As the Mayavadi philosopher thinks, silence may appear helpful for some time, but ultimately it proves failure. The meaning of controlled speech conveyed by Srila Rupa Goswami advocate the positive process of Krishna Katha, engaging speaking process glorifying the Supreme Lord Krishna. So this book is so important. How to control the mind and senses explained in this book. Artificially you cannot control the mind and senses. There should be positive activities. I'll stop here. Any question, any discussion, what I have speaking?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, the question is like, I want clarification that how the matter can overcome a spirit, because body, all senses, this is matter, and mind is matter, and spirit only gave the activation to the senses and all, but spirit only overcome by the mind and all matter. How and why?
That is nicely explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Indriyanu pararavu, indriyabhya paramana, manasastu parabuddhi, yobuddhe paratastusha. Is the third chapter Bhagavad Gita, fourth chapter Bhagavad Gita, text 42 something. The third chapter, okay. The senses, the mind, this is third chapter, text 40. Intelligence or the sitting place of the lust, through them, lust cover the real knowledge of the living entity, bewilders him. Not only that, yes, text 42 also. Everybody can repeat after this. This question is very interesting. You can all repeat after me. This is chapter 3, text 42. The working senses are superior to dull matter. These are the working senses, Gyanendriya, eyes, nose, ear, hands, legs. Okay? What Lord says? Working senses are superior to dull matter. Body is a dull matter. Okay? In this dull matter, the senses are active. That is why senses are superior. If you are blind, if you are deaf, who likes that person? That is why the Lord says that the working senses are superior to dull matter. You repeat after me. The working senses are superior to dull matter. Mind is higher than the senses. Mind is higher than the senses. If you see now, you are here sitting, your mind is going everywhere. So mind is more subtle. Mind is higher than the senses. Intelligence still higher than the mind. And the soul even higher than the intelligence. You've gone through this purport? Your question get answered this. You don't, you want me to explain a little bit? I know I was also trying to read this. I just tried to say that. Prabhupada write in this purport, with intelligence, one has to seek out the constitutional position of the soul. Buddhi. We have to use engage the mind always in Krishna consciousness. That solves the whole problem. A neophyte spiritualist generally advised to keep aloof from the object of the senses. But aside from that, one has to strengthen the mind by using intelligence. If by intelligence one engages one's mind in Krishna consciousness, by complete surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then automatically the mind becomes stronger. Even though the senses are very strong, like a serpent, they will be no more effective than serpent with broken fangs. But even though the soul is master of the intelligence, mind and senses, your question here, still, unless it is strengthened by association with Krishna in Krishna consciousness, there is every chance of falling down due to agitation of the mind. You got answer? Anyway, it is a deep science. Bhagavad Gita, that is it's not sentiment. Krishna consciousness, no sentiment, no mental speculation. Religion, philosophy, both combined. Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, we have to be deeply study and understand. Any other question?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you very much. Maharaj, I just want one thing clear, that in Krishna consciousness, initially when we came in the mode of passion and ignorance only. But after some times, we try to balance our lifestyle. So as you are mentioning, one should have to become Goswami at the end of life. So if somebody is in balanced life, from going to balanced life to Goswami, he should stable in balanced life or have to stretch some out of balanced life in the devotional service and practicing austerity, or automatically by practicing balanced life only, by the course of time he will become stretched, or how it is voluntarily you have to stretch, or just like practice the balanced life, it automatically will come on the stage of Goswami.
That is why it is a Prabhupada, it is a scientific actually. 5 to 25 year brahmachari life. And Prabhupada says, here you can see here, very interesting. What is austerity, tapasya? The first principle of austerity is brahmacharya. Okay, tapasya. Restricted sex life. The real meaning of brahmacharya, complete celibacy. And according to Vedic culture, in the beginning of life, one should strictly follow the regulation of brahmacharya. When he is grown up, the brahmachari can marry and become a grahastha. As a grahastha, he can have sex, but in the brahmacharya life, strict celibacy is the rule. In the present age, people have become degraded for want of tapasya because they are not taught how to execute tapasvi life. So, you understand, Prabhupada explaining that this is a process of gradually, when you brahmachari life, it depends on you. You can directly also take sannyas when you understood the realizing, that is recommended. Otherwise, Prabhupada says brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyas.
So, just little I want, somewhere it is mentioned that one who is eating less, sleeping less, cannot become yogi.
Right.
And one who is eating more and sleeping more cannot become yogi. So we have to become balanced in our recreation and all things.
Right.
So this Goswami stage will come by this steady balancing stage, or we have to straight in that balancing also.
This is very clearly mentioned by Prabhupada in the Nectar of Instruction, that here Prabhupada said, the conclusion is that one who can control these 6 senses, speech, mind, anger, tongue, belly and genital, is to be called Swami or Goswami. Swami means master, and Goswami means master of the senses. When one accepts the renowned sort of life, he automatically assumes the title Swami. So you understand Prabhupada explaining here, Goswami means first to, another place also Prabhupada right. So that is the point here explaining about the how gradually you become Goswami or Swami. Any other question? Yeah.
हरे कृष्ण महाराज, बहुत अच्छा आपने लेक्चर दिया, बहुत अच्छा लगा. और वो एक क्वेश्चन है मेरा कि जीवा का जो 6 स्वाद होता है, वो जीवा का जो 6 स्वाद होता है वो क्या है?
डेड बॉडी स्वाद करता है. बोलो.
बॉडी.
डेड बॉडी, जो मरा हुआ शरीर है, वो जो स्वाद करता है. मैं पूछ रहा हूँ, नहीं करता है. फिर कौन करता है? The soul, you are the soul. The tongue also taste. Natural. Sugar taste. You like sugar? You like salt? So these rasas are there in the tongue. समझ में आया ना?
तो 4 स्वाद को लिखा हुआ है, मतलब 4 स्वाद के बारे में लिखा है. एक मीठा, नमक,
all rasas in the tongue only. Or
Hare Krishna. Thank you for wonderful class. So you are talking about tapasya. So one question arises that in Brahmacharya ashram, we are getting many facilities, and our tendency is that on the name of Krishna consciousness, we are gratifying our senses and enjoying that facility on the name of Krishna consciousness.
Right.
And same time we feel that we are doing our Krishna consciousness nicely, but out of ignorance, we do not engage our senses in Krishna service properly. So how to deal with such problem? Because Prabhupada says that spirituality means only needful things we should possess. But there are some unwanted facility or more facility. So how to deal with that facility? Because neophyte stage means enjoying tendencies there. So how to deal with such subtle point?
It depends on the individual, no? If you want, you can, away from that facilities, you can live like a street life. Nobody asks you to forcefully to take all these facilities. So in the ashram, there are different students. So You can follow in austere life yourself.
Okay, it is right, but how neophyte devotee can decide this? Because he is in neophyte stage, so his tendency to enjoy facility. So he will enjoy.
That is why
and
we have this program, Bhakta program or learning, training, everything is there. Training. Prabhupada says, yeah, training is very, very important. You have a good point. No. Brahmachari always under the training. Without training, you cannot become a brahmachari. Training is very, very important. Under the shelter of the Guru, under the shelter of the senior Vaishnavas, you have to be guided. Sit, bolta baita to baito, chalo bolta chalna. In this way, you become a strict brahmachari. Training required. Without training, you cannot.
But one point is that why unnecessary facility is given there? Because facility is given, so tendency is to enjoy it.
No, but those who are new bhaktas, they are not given much facilities, right?
No, after new bhakta doesn't mean that I become sannyasi. We are also still in neophyte stage. So if I get facility, so my tendency is to enjoy it. So I will enjoy, and there is the greatest diversion in my Krishna conscious life. Whole purpose will spoil. So what is the use to come here? It is better to stay outside and follow that.
But you need a guidance. Without guidance, you cannot, that is the lost point. You have to work under guide, senior authority. Then you can be free from this, facilities of attachment for sense enjoyment. Right? Okay. Maha Patitapan Srila Prabhupada ki.
Great. Lot of realization.